What's up? I'm Lily. Revenge Crown brings you the stories that keep you hooked. If that sounds good, smash subscribe and let's go. Looked at her husband with an expression I'd never seen before. Ice and fire at once. The ballroom was all cream and gold, chandeliers dripping crystal light onto 130 guests holding champagne flutes halfway to their lips. The air smelled like gardenias and champagne, sweet enough to drown in. My father stood at the microphone in his rented tuxedo, smiling like he'd just announced something generous. Like he'd given me a gift instead of taking one. My brother Tyler sat at the family table in his designer suit, the one I helped him buy last year when he could unafford the payment.
He raised his glass toward me and winked, actually winked.
Evan's hand found mine under the table. His thumb pressed against my wrist, 3 pulses. Our code, are you okay? I wasn't, but I smiled anyway, small and calm and dangerous, because patterns don't break themselves. They wait for the perfect moment, under chandeliers and witnesses, to show you exactly who people are. I was the hinge that made it move in my family. Not the door everyone wanted to walk through. Just the small metal piece that held everything together while everyone else got to be important. Tyler got the basement apartment in my parents' house rent-free through his 20s. I got a lecture about responsibility when I asked to borrow the car at 17. Tyler got college tuition paid in full, then grad school when he dropped out of the first program, then a second chance at a 3rd university. I got congratulations when I earned a full scholarship and worked 3 jobs to cover what it did, and you're so independent. My mother would say, her voice warm with something that sounded like pride but felt like dismissal. Tyler needs more support. You've always been able to handle things on your own. Translation. You don't matter as much. When Tyler totaled his car junior year, I co-signed for his next one. When he couldn't make the payments, I covered them for 8 months. When he needed a reference for jobs he'd quit within weeks, I wrote them. When he moved to Seattle to find himself and ran out of money, I wired him $2,000. You're such a good sister, my father said every time, and I believed it. I believed being good meant something. I believed sacrifice was the same as love. I was 31 when I met Evan's parents and learned what family could actually look like. Richard and Diana weren't wealthy by mansion standards, but they were successful. Richard owned a small architecture firm. Diana was a pediatric surgeon. They lived in a modest house with bookshelves in every room and asked questions they actually wanted answers to. The first time I had dinner there, Diana asked about my work as a software engineer. She listened to my entire answer. Didn't interrupt. Didn't redirect the conversation to someone more important. When I finished, she said, "That's fascinating. Tell me more about the project you're developing." I almost cried into my pasta. Evan drove me home that night, and I sat in his passenger seat trying to explain why I was upset after such a nice dinner. They listened to me, I said. Like what I said mattered. Evan took my hand. That's how it's supposed to work. 6 months before the wedding, Richard and Diana called us to their house for Sunday brunch. We sat on their back patio with coffee and fruit, and Richard slid an envelope across the table. "We wanted to talk to you both about something," he said. Diana smiled. "We've been planning this for a while." Inside the envelope were keys and a deed. A 2-bedroom condo in a good neighborhood, 20 minutes from both our jobs, fully paid, title in my name. "We can't accept this," I said immediately. "You're not accepting it," Diana corrected gently. "We're giving it." "There's a difference. But this is too much." Richard shook his head. "You two are building a life together. This is us helping you start strong. No mortgage hanging over your heads. Just space to grow. The title is in your name, Sarah," Diana added. "We wanted to make sure you have security. Always." I looked at Evan. He was crying. "They called me last month to ask my blessing," he said. "I told them you'd try to refuse." "You deserve this," Diana said firmly. "You work hard. You're kind. You've built something beautiful with our son." "Let us help," I cried then. Full, messy tears that I couldn't control. Because generous in the way that cost nothing, listening, trusting, handing you space was one thing. But this was generous in a way that changed futures. That said, you matter. Your stability matters. Your name on the deed matters. I called my parents that night to tell them, excited, grateful, wanting to share good news. "That's nice," my mother said. Very generous of them. A pause. Though I hope you're planning to share it with Tyler when he moves back from Seattle. He'll need a place to stay. The excitement died in my chest like someone had turned off a light. It's mine, Mom. Evan's parents gave it to me. Right, but family shares. Tyler's been struggling. This could really help him get back on his feet. I didn't argue. I just said I had to go and hung up. Evan found me on the couch, staring at nothing. They want Tyler to have it, I said. They what? Not have it, exactly. Just use it. Stay there. Because he needs it more. Evan sat beside me, his jaw tight. It's yours. Your name on the deed. They can't just... They'll make it about family. About being selfish. About how I've always had more. He pulled me close. We're going to protect this. Whatever it takes. 2 weeks before the wedding, I stayed late at work with my coworker and friend Jennifer. She was a paralegal at the tech company where I worked on contract management systems. We were reviewing licensing agreements when I told her about the condo situation. Your family wants your brother to live in the condo your in-laws bought you. She repeated. They keep calling it our family property. Like because I'm their daughter, it belongs to all of us. Jennifer set down her coffee. Sarah, you know I love you. But that's not how property law works. I know, do you? Because you sound like you're trying to convince yourself it's reasonable. I was quiet. Jennifer pulled out a legal pad. When people anticipate property disputes, we document things. We create paper trails. We prepare. You think they'll actually try to take it? I think they'll try to guilt you into giving it away. And when you're standing at your wedding, surrounded by family, with everyone watching, you'll feel like you have to say yes, she started writing. So we make it impossible for you to say yes, even if you want to. We spent 2 hours drafting a notarized declaration. Clean, simple, legally airtight. It stated that the condo at 447 Riverside Drive, deeded to Sarah Mitchell, was my exclusive property and could not be transferred, sold, or occupied without my explicit written consent. Additional clause. Any attempt to claim, coerce, or pressure me into relinquishing said property would trigger legal review and result in forfeiture of any future financial support from Richard and Diana Chun's estate. Evan signed it the next day. So did Richard and Diana, who added their own clause. Any harassment regarding the property would result in a cease and desist order. We've seen families do this before, Richard said quietly. We won't let them take this from you. I had it notarized 4 days before the wedding. Put it in a manila envelope. Evan kept it in his jacket pocket during the rehearsal dinner, just in case. The wedding was beautiful. Hotel ballroom with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. 130 guests. Flowers everywhere, white roses and gardenias, my grandmother's favorites. I wore my mother's vintage veil because she'd insisted. Something borrowed, she'd said, adjusting it in the bridal suite. You look beautiful, sweetheart. Tyler sat in the third row, scrolling through his phone during the ceremony. My mother elbowed him twice before he put it away. But Richard and Diana sat in the front row, Diana crying softly, Richard beaming. When Evan and I said our vows, Diana mouthed, "We love you," and I nearly lost my composure. The reception was perfect. Dinner service, string lights, a jazz trio playing standards. The kind of wedding where everything felt warm and right. Until the toasts, my maid of honor went first. Sweet stories about college. Evan's best man followed with embarrassing anecdotes. People laughed. Champagne flowed. The evening hummed with joy. Then my father stood up. He hadn't told me he was planning to speak. He just walked to the microphone during the pause between toasts, adjusted it, and smiled at the room. I want to say a few words about my daughter, he began. The room quieted. Guests turned in their seats. Sarah has always been independent, strong. The kind of person who doesn't need much. He paused, his smile widening. Which is why I know she understands this next part. My stomach dropped. As many of you know, Sarah's new in-laws generously purchased a condo for the couple. Very generous indeed, he nodded toward Richard and Diana. And after talking with my wife and son, we've decided that property will go to Tyler for his future. The room went silent. Not quiet, silent, like someone had vacuumed out all the sound. Tyler stood up from his table, grinning. Don't worry, sis. You can visit sometimes. He actually laughed. A dozen people heard it. My mother nodded beside him, smiling that rehearsed smile. It makes sense. Tyler's moving back from Seattle and needs a stable place to land. Sarah and Evan can stay with us for a while or rent somewhere smaller. They'll be fine. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. The chandelier light felt too bright. Evan's hand found mine under the table, his grip almost painful. And Diana went very still. I watched her face change. Watched something sharp and cold settle into her expression. She looked at Richard with eyes that could cut glass. Richard stood up slowly. His voice was quiet, but it carried. I'm sorry. Could you repeat that? My father blinked, his smile faltering. The condo. We've decided it should go to Tyler. He needs it more. The condo, Richard said carefully, that Diana and I purchased, that we deeded to Sarah, that condo. Well, yes. But Sarah's our daughter, so technically it's family property. No, Diana said. One word. Ice cold. The room shifted. Guests were staring now, phones lowering to tables. My father laughed nervously. I don't think you understand. In our family we share resources. Sarah's always been generous with Tyler. This is just theft, Diana finished. What you're describing is theft. My mother stood up, her voice rising. How dare you? We're trying to help our son by taking property from our daughter-in-law. Richard's voice was steel. Property we gave her? That has her name on the deed. Tyler was still standing, but his smile had faded. It's not that big a deal. Sarah doesn't even need it. I'm the one who's struggling. No? Then struggle somewhere else, Evan said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. He was still seated, still holding my hand, but his voice carried across the ballroom. That condo is Sarah's. My parents gave it to her. Not to us. You don't get to decide what happens to it. My father's face was reddening. Son, this is a family matter. I'm not your son, Evan said. And you don't have a say in this. The jazz trio had stopped playing. Waiters stood frozen with trays. 130 witnesses held their breath. My mother tried a different approach, her voice softening. Sarah, sweetheart, you know Tyler's been having a hard time. You've always helped him before. This is just another way to... No, I said. My voice didn't shake. My mother blinked. Sarah, don't be difficult. Not at your wedding. Everyone's watching. Good, I said. Let them watch. Evan reached into his jacket and pulled out the manila envelope. He stood, walked to my father, and handed it to him. You might want to read this before you say anything else. My father opened the envelope like it was a subpoena. My mother and Tyler crowded around him, reading over his shoulders. The ballroom was absolutely silent. The kind of silence that presses against your eardrums. I watched my father's face as he read. Watched the confusion arrive first, like he was reading a foreign language. Then recognition, his eyes widening. Then something that might have been fear. At first confusion, then recognition, then color draining inch by inch. What is this? My mother whispered. A legal declaration, Evan said. Notarized 3 days ago. Stating that the condo at 447 Riverside Drive is Sarah's exclusive property and cannot be transferred without her written consent. Tyler grabbed the paper. This is insane. It's legally binding, Richard added, standing beside his son. Read the second clause. My father's voice cracked as he read aloud. Any attempt to claim coerce or pressure Sarah Mitchell into relinquishing said property will result in legal review and immediate forfeiture of any future financial support or inheritance from Richard and Diana Chun's estate. The silence somehow deepened. My mother's perfectly applied makeup was starting to crack. You're threatening us? At your own wedding? You threatened first, Diana said quietly. You just did it with a smile. Tyler threw the paper on the floor. This is ridiculous. It's just a condo. We're family. Exactly, I said, standing up. We're family. So why are you trying to take something that was given to me? We're not taking it. We're asking you to share. You announced to 130 people that it was Tyler's. You didn't ask. You declared. My father tried to salvage it, his voice going hard. Sarah, you're being unreasonable. Tyler needs stability. You have Evan and his family's money. You don't need the condo. Whether I need it isn't the point, I said. My voice was calm, dangerous, the kind of calm that comes from years of holding things in until you finally stop. The point is, it's mine. My name on the deed, my property. And you don't get to decide what happens to it. My mother's voice turned pleading. We raised you to be kind, to help family. This isn't like you. You raised me to be convenient, I said. There's a difference. Tyler made one last attempt, his voice rising loud enough for the whole room to hear. You've always been selfish. You have everything and you won't share with your own brother. I've shared everything, I said. I co-signed your car. I paid your rent. I covered your credit cards. I wrote your references. I sent you money in Seattle. I've been sharing for 15 years, Tyler, and it's never enough. The words hung in the air like broken glass. Phones were fully raised now, no longer hidden. The photographer had her camera up, uncertain whether to document this. The band members watched from their platform. Waitstaff stood frozen. My mother looked around at all the witnesses, at the guests who would remember this moment, who would tell the story at brunches and family gatherings. Her composure was crumbling in real time. You'll regret this, she said, her voice shaking. No, I said. I won't. Diana stepped forward then, placing herself between me and my parents. I think you should leave now. You can't kick us out of our daughter's wedding, my father said. It's our daughter-in-law's wedding, Richard corrected, and we paid for it. So yes, we can. My mother gasped. Tyler looked like he'd been slapped. You're choosing them over your own family? My father asked me, his voice breaking. They've been more family to me in 2 years than you've been in 31, I said. The truth of it echoed through the ballroom. My parents stood there for another moment, Tyler between them, all three of them realizing that the script had changed. That I wasn't playing my role anymore. That the hinge had finally broken. They left. My mother with tears streaking her foundation, my father with his shoulders hunched. Tyler throwing one last glare over his shoulder that promised this wasn't over. The guests parted to let them through. No one said goodbye. When the ballroom doors closed behind them, the silence held for exactly 3 seconds. Then Diana's sister started clapping. It spread like wildfire. Applause rolling through the reception, building and building until it felt like the chandelier might shake. Richard hugged me. Diana kissed my forehead. Evan pulled me close and whispered, I'm so proud of you. The jazz trio started playing again. Champagne was poured. The moment crystallized into memory, locked in place by witnesses and phones and the crystal chandeliers that had seen everything. We danced. We ate cake. We celebrated. And I never once looked at my phone. The call started within an hour. By the time Evan and I left the reception, my phone showed 73 missed calls and 56 text messages. I didn't read any of them. We drove to our hotel in the Subaru. Evan's parents had given him for graduation, another gift my family had never acknowledged. In our suite, I finally looked. Mom, how could you humiliate us like that, in front of everyone? Dad, you've broken your mother's heart. I hope you're happy, Tyler. You're dead to me. Enjoy your precious condo alone, but there were other messages. Evan's cousin, that took guts. Well done, my college roommate. I've been waiting for you to stand up to them for 10 years. Proud of you, Jennifer from work. The document worked perfectly. You're a badass. And one from my Aunt Linda, my father's sister. Your father called me furious. I told him he had it coming. I've watched them treat you like an ATM for years. Good for you. I turned off my phone. Evan ordered champagne and strawberries. We sat on the balcony overlooking the city, the lights spreading out like fallen stars. Do you think I was too harsh? I asked. Then that's your answer. I thought about the condo, about my name on the deed, about Diana insisting it be in my name alone because you deserve security, always. They're going to tell everyone I'm cruel, I said. That I ruined my own wedding over a condo. 130 people saw what happened, Evan said. They can't rewrite that. The next day, my phone would fill with messages from extended family, from wedding guests, from people who'd seen the pattern for years, and were just glad someone finally named it. But that night, I didn't think about any of that. I thought about the silence, how it had finally stopped aching, how it settled like snow. A month later, Evan and I moved into the condo. 2 bedrooms, updated kitchen, big windows that let in morning light. Our furniture looked small in all that space, but it felt like breathing room. Like possibility. Diana and Richard came over for dinner the first week. We ate takeout on the floor because our dining table hadn't arrived yet, and Richard toasted with plastic cups. To new beginnings, he said. To family, Diana added. Then she smiled at me. The kind you choose. My phone had been back on for 3 weeks. The calls had stopped. I'd blocked my parents and Tyler after reading one final message from each. Mom, when you're ready to apologize and make this right, call us. I deleted it and didn't respond. My Aunt Linda came to visit, bringing a housewarming plant and apologies for my father's behavior. He's always enabled Tyler, she said. And you were always too strong to need enabling. That's not a compliment to you, that's a failure on their part. Some cousins reached out. A few friends from high school who'd witnessed years of the pattern. They all said the same thing, it was about time. Jennifer came over with wine and we sat on my balcony watching the sunset. How does it feel? She asked. Having your own place. Your name on everything. I thought about it. Like I finally stopped apologizing for existing. Good, she said. That's exactly right. I wore my grandmother's ring that she left me, the one my mother had tried to give to Tyler, Essex girlfriend once. I'd hidden it in a safe deposit box after that. Now it sat on my finger in my own condo safe. 3 months after the wedding, I met Jennifer for coffee near my office. We sat by the window, fall leaves drifting past. Therapy's been good, I told her. My therapist says I'm grieving the family I wanted, not the family I had. That's wise. She also said boundaries don't destroy families. They define them. And if your family can't exist within your boundaries, then what you had wasn't family. It was a performance where you played a supporting role. Jennifer nodded. And now? Now I'm the lead in my own life. The condo sat 20 minutes away, my name on the deed, my furniture arranged exactly how I wanted it. No one asking to stay temporarily. No one treating my space like community property. No one making me feel guilty for having something that was mine. I thought about my parents sometimes. About Tyler, about whether they'd ever understand. Probably not. But I'd stopped needing them to. Freedom whispers, doesn't roar. It sounds like morning coffee in a kitchen that's yours. Like coming home to a space no one can take away. Like a deed with your name in permanent ink. Like silence that finally settles. The world had bent for Tyler his whole life. It had bent for my parents' version of family, where my needs were always secondary, where my resources were communal, where my name on something meant nothing. Now the world bent for me, just a little, just enough, and I wasn't giving that back. If you've ever had to draw a line with someone who called it love, share your story below. You're not alone, and you don't owe anyone your peace.